Welcome, brothers. In today's video, we continue to showcase how the modern woman despises women who choose to stay at home. Traditional women with values lead happy lives. But before we proceed, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Your engagement helps this content reach more men who may need it. So, without further ado, let's get started.
I think women are mistaking wanting to be a tradwife and a stay-at-home girlfriend with just wanting universal basic income. Women are getting on this app and being like, I'm so tired from all this endless labor and minimal reward and these high costs of living. I wish a man would just provide for me. There is a man that should be providing for you. He should be providing for all of us. His name is Joe Biden.
There is a woman who blames the government, God, and as always, men for everything bad that happens to her. She is a bitter spinster who is bothered by the Tradwives movement because it reminds her every day of everything she is not, a married and happy woman. In another video, I also saw her attacking men for dating younger women. But I wonder, what is her frustration towards men? Why is she so angry about every movement that benefits men? Simply because, brothers, she has hit the wall, and the wall does not forgive. Do these women resent the message that a woman wants to live with her husband, have her children, and be a woman who can bake a cake at home? It angers them because it reminds them that they failed to create a family. Every time they see a woman who has succeeded, who is living what they deep down want to live, it fills them with rage. They want to go against the message, but I ask myself, what is better for a woman, being an undesirable spinster over 35 or a woman who stays at home with a husband who loves her? Brothers, the wall does not forgive.
A woman named Ash Sarkar argues that tradwives are really just agents of a far-right political agenda. Here she is.
Though the idea of women being confined to the home while men do things like go outside and work isn't exactly new, the image of 1950s suburban domesticity has been given a new lease of life by the gals on TikTok. And look, I'm not saying there's anything inherently degrading about being a mum or making nice meals. It's saying that being a woman or expressing your femininity most fully means doing all the domestic labor. It's advancing a right-wing political ideology and dressing it up as a lifestyle. These women are often really young, in their 20s, and they're preaching the values of submitting to a husband to an audience of other young women. The tradwife trend doesn't exist in isolation. It's linked to deeply regressive political and social movements such as Christian and white nationalism and anti-feminism.
Feminism is an ideology which cannot be defended by feminists.
It's part of a wider shift of young people being dissatisfied with neoliberalism and wanting social change.
Well, she's right about that last point. Not any of the rest of it, but the last point anyway. But before we flesh that out, let's consider a few other points. First, you see how stigmatization is perhaps the left's most common and useful tool. Always has been. I mean, even as they claim that they want people to be free to live their lives without judgment, the truth is that they have a very rigid idea about what sorts of lifestyles should be embraced. And the standard is very simple, actually. It's not complicated. We should celebrate any and all lifestyles that would not be traditionally considered normal.
Brother, my content is not tied to politics. It's linked to the male perspective and aimed at conveying a message to men that they always have choices. Lately, the right and left political spectrum has gotten out of control. As I mentioned, I'm not interested in politics. What I care about are the values of a traditional family, a lasting marriage, and the masculinity of a man. I want to emphasize the importance of a man choosing his partner wisely to avoid being devastated by an abusive divorce. What bothers me about messages from women like this is that they tell women that by being good wives to their husbands, they are being submissive. But a woman with a husband who takes care of her when she's sick, covers her expenses, goes on family trips, protects her, provides for her, and gives her love is not being subjugated. The message these women promote is that women should be alone like them, without children like them, living only to work, and embracing libertinism because that's the path. What I find amusing is that they often accuse a particular race of being supremacist. The irony is that men from China, Africa, Latin America, the United States, or anywhere else in the world all want a woman with traditional values. They want someone who knows how to treat them like a man, can cook for them, and gives them love. I haven't seen anyone looking for a modern woman with a heavy-handed character who spent her youth freely sharing her love with the public. So, brothers, you let me know what the true agenda is here.
Men want three things: silence and sandwiches.
So of course, men want more than this, but I would say that these three things are the key to a happy day-to-day life. Like, take pride in cooking for your man. If he is out there working his ass off, making money to make your lives comfortable, and he's stressing about all the financial things and you don't have to worry about the bills, have a meal ready for him when he's hungry. The sex doesn't have to be intercourse. Be flirtatious. Just be sexy. Like, show your man you want him. Walk around without your top on. Wear a pair of nice booty shorts so we can see your little ass crease. Like, dudes love that little booty cheek crease. And the silence isn't don't speak unless spoken to. It is don't be argumentative for no reason. Don't create problems when there are none. If I want something and my man tells me no, I say yes, sir, and move on. He tells me no for a reason, and I understand that. And I know one day he will get me what I want. Today's not that day.
This woman, although she seems to be part of the movement that hates men, her messages are actually more traditional. However, I really don't like that nose ring on girls. I find it looks terrible. But, brothers, as a man, I believe everything boils down to one word: respect. Simple respect is what is asked of women. They should know their place in relation to men. How difficult is it to prepare something to eat for your husband? Even if you don't do it yourself, you can at least ask. But many don't even want to do that. However, one thing they do want is for you to give, for your money and time to be spent on what they want. Of course, without giving anything in return. Because the modern woman understands that she can do whatever she wants, and indeed she can, but not with me. They are bothered by men who set limits, which is why they are alone. That's why traditional women know that if they respect their man, he will give them everything. Not always when they ask for it, but when the time comes, their man, who loves them, cares for them, and wants them, will give them everything.
How do you guys always miss the point? That's what baffles me. The whole point, the reason why women are coming on this app and saying what they're saying is because that's what you've been doing. Hello? Men have gotten a free pass to gaslight and use women throughout all of history. You have basically owned us. We have been owned by you, okay? We weren't allowed to have our own bank account since like 1976. We had no choice but to be your wives and have your children, while you had mistresses on the side. We didn't even have the opportunity to use you guys and to gaslight you, because we didn't have autonomy or freedom or privileges at all. How is this a conversation? How are we having this conversation? And it happens so much that it makes me lose my mind. It makes me not even want to respond to things like this, because I feel like it only comes from people who are not fully wiring correctly. But then I go out in the real world and I realize that there are actual people who hold down jobs and even have positions of power who wholeheartedly believe in sentiments like this. And it just baffles me. How do you not understand? We want equality, but just because we want equality and just because we're making steps towards equality does not mean we're in the current stage of equality right now. It's going to take many, many years for us to even come close to any kind of resemblance of any kind of equality, because we have gone so long of it not existing. Okay? So yes, in order for that equilibrium to happen more quickly, women are going to have to start playing the same way men have been playing. And guess what? For the first time in human history, we actually have a little bit of power and enough privilege and enough resources to do that. It's too late now. Sit down and take your talking to. That's what the smart men are going to do in these upcoming years. It's too late. It's too late. Delete your anonymous profile. Oh, the username is It's Daddy now. Oh my God. Or just delete yourself. Delete yourself.
Brothers, women want equality, but it's the kind of equality that suits them. Because when a man gives them the equality they seek, they get angry. Of course, because they want equality on their terms, not on mine. When a man, in the name of equality, suggests sharing expenses, that woman doesn't want to hear from that man anymore. Because when both the woman and the man work, and they live together, they don't want to split the bills evenly. Don't come to me with the excuse of sharing household chores, because right now, any man of value knows how to be a functioning adult. So, what kind of equality do they really want? An equality that allows them to indulge in the libertinism they engage in now? An equality that has led to an increase in the number of single women, women in their 20s without boyfriends, women reaching their 30s without husbands or children, women who become increasingly lonely because men are avoiding them. If this is the equality they achieved, I must say they seem much more miserable than 50 years ago when most were married, with children, and a man by their side. So what do they gain with so much equality? Hitting the wall, because the wall does not forgive.
If you've ever had the misfortune of being served divine feminine content on this godforsaken app, this video is for you. So I'm going to tell you why the whole divine feminine, divine masculine discourse is just repackaged Christian doctrine and why it's bullshit and you shouldn't listen to it. And I'm going to do it in business casual because no one has ever lied to anyone wearing business casual. Divine femininity encourages women to live a soft life. So low stress, lots of self-care, and sourdough bread. It also really encourages us girls to just tap out of the things that are more in line with the masculine, like working a 9-to-5 job, or paying for things, or making major decisions. I like that. This creator here actually talks about how in her relationship, her male partner is actually the leader and makes a lot of the decisions because he is more masculine and therefore better at being a leader. So I'm not going to get into the hundreds of studies that show that women and girls are far more effective leaders typically than boys and men. But I will ask you, where do you think this idea of masculinity being tied to leadership is coming from if it's not coming from the science? It's coming from the Bible and the mainstreaming of Christian values into day-to-day American society. And one of those values is the evangelical doctrine of male headship, which basically implies that in a nuclear family, the wife is to submit to the husband and the husband is to submit to Jesus. But since we all know that Jesus ain't exactly bopping around, essentially the husband doesn't have to submit to anyone, unless he has a dominatrix on the side, which he probably does because Christian men hate themselves. So my personal take is that this whole divine femininity thing has come about as a reaction to some of the pitfalls of contemporary modern feminism. The girl boss feminism of the 2010s pushed us to be equal earners, if not even sometimes the breadwinners. But at the end of the day, women are still responsible for the majority of unpaid and emotional labor that goes on in the home and in their communities. And women are fucking tired. They're burnt out. And while opting out in certain capacities can be empowering and even like a fuck you to capitalism, the Christian right in particular is really banking on the fact that women will continue to opt out more and more so that we become kind of pushed to the perimeter of society and they're able to advance their extremist anti-women agenda, which is essentially what they've done. If your spiritual practice relies on such patriarchal ideas about gender that you somehow end up in alignment with the Christian right, you are on the New Age spirituality to alt-right pipeline. First class. No to divine femininity, yes to divine delinquency.
As I mentioned, I don't delve into politics, but seeing how this portrays women, I think I know which way I would vote. However, moving away from that, what is the alternative in your view? Because if you criticize one model, it's because you must have an idea of a better one. But all I see is women ending up as old, single cat ladies, in other words, hitting the wall. So, the woman who stays at home ends up doing all the unpaid work, submits to the patriarchal, right-wing man who forces and oppresses her to stay at home with a man who loves her, supports her, provides her with a roof over her head, gives her children, pays for their education, brings food to the table, buys her and their children's whims, takes care of her when she's sick, and, above all, puts a ring on her finger promising, through the wicked Christian vows, to love and respect her, making her endure a marriage for a lifetime with social and financial security and children who love her, just like her husband. Brothers, the suffering that men make women endure. But according to this modern feminist woman, there is an alternative, being a spinster over 30, without children but with a cute kitty, burdened with debts, the best part being hitting the wall because the wall does not forgive. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think of these women against the traditional woman? Do you believe that a woman with a husband is submissive to her man? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.